Morning, guys. This is Brad Krantz. Welcome to Monday Morning Leadership today, day after Mother's Day. Thanks for joining me. Hey, I'm going to take a little bit different start to this as we go and explain a little bit about why am I going through this book, The 21 Indispensable Qualities of a Leader, and why am I spending so much time talking about leadership. I really believe something that John Maxwell says, that everything rises or falls on leadership. But I also believe that a lot of times our paradigm on leadership is typically wrong. Most people, if you ask them what leaders are, even people who think they're leaders, it's telling others what to do. And that's not only wrong, that totally misses what leadership's about. Diminishers tell. And I had a conversation with Bob Tiede last week about this. Multipliers ask, they let you solve your own problem, they cheer your idea, they give you responsibility and authority. And the bottom line is on this, leaders as multipliers develop other leaders. So if you want to ask, if leadership is influence, which it is, how do you increase your influence? Well, John Maxwell just said it today. I was watching him with Ed Milet, and you add value to others. So it's my hope in going through this book and sharing these segments that I'm adding value to you in some way. So join me today. We're going to go through the 21 indispensable qualities of a leader, and keeping in mind, these aren't optional, okay? They are indispensable. Leaders need to have these qualities. So let's jump into today's topic, number 9, which is generosity, okay? It says your candle loses nothing when it lights another. And John Maxwell stated that giving is the highest level of living. And nothing speaks more loudly or serves others better than generosity from a leader. Think about that, okay? And true generosity is not a occasional event. It comes from the heart, and it permeates every aspect of a leader's life, touching their time, their money, their talents, and their possessions. Okay, that means it's a lot of things. Effective leaders, he says, are the kind of that people want to follow. They don't gather things together just for themselves. They do it in order to give to others. A lot of stuff I've got now is because I want to have the enjoyment of having other people over to enjoy it. Okay, and I've also seen, though, and that's commendable, and I've seen people say this before, but I've seen it done properly and improperly to motivate people. So make sure you do it properly. So to cultivate the quality of generosity, number 1, be grateful for what you have. I know this from experience. It's hard for people to be generous when you're not satisfied with what you have. And we have over our mantle down in our living room a sign that says thankful, because we are in our hearts. We're thankful for what we have. We're thankful for what we're blessed with, the home we live in, our life, our health. So it starts with an attitude of gratitude, right? Be grateful for what you have. Okay, then generosity rises out of contentment, and that doesn't come with acquiring more. Here's why the late, multimillionaire, he would have been a billionaire these days, John D. Rockefeller, admitted that he goes, I've made millions, but they have brought me no happiness. That's kind of sad. So if you're content with a little, you will be content with a lot. If you're not content with a little, you won't be content with a lot, right? You're never going to be satisfied. And if you're generous with a little, you won't suddenly change if you become wealthy. Money, I'd say this, money doesn't make a man, but it can reveal him. We've all heard, the Bible verse, and it's quoted out of context, money's the root of all evil. Well, that's not what it says. It says that money can be the roots of all kinds of evil. So money itself is not the root, but it can be the roots of all kind of evil. Again, if it's not used properly, if your attitude's not right. Number 2, the measure of a leader is not really the number of people who serve him, but the number of people he serves. Again, John Maxwell talked about adding value to others. Zig Ziglar said this. Here's a great example, that you can have everything in life that you want if you will just help enough other people get what they want. So you don't do it all you want. There's no such thing as a self-made man. You've got to help others, and you've got to serve them, and you've got to add value to them. Generosity really requires putting others first, right? And that's what a true servant leader does. Number 3, don't allow desire for possessions to control you. That's a big thing, especially here in America, our materialistic culture, the advertising that we get bombed with. But Earl Wilson said that people can be divided into 3 groups. He goes, the haves, the have-nots, and the have not paid for what they have. That's pretty humorous, but I think it's more true than not. More and more people are becoming enslaved to the desire to acquire, because we're bombarded with advertising every day. You've got to have this, you've got to have that, you've got to have the latest, cell phone technology, whatever it is. The pursuit of materialism, he says, is a long story with no ending in sight, right? It can go on and on and on. But if you want to be in charge of your heart, don't allow possessions to take charge of you. I mean, it's really that simple, and I think that's excellent advice. Number 4, he says, regard money as a resource. Really, I'm just going to say this, money is neutral. It's not good or bad. It can be used for good purposes, but it can certainly be used for bad, and we see that all the time. Someone once said that when it comes to money, you can't win. If you focus on making it, you're materialistic, and if you try but don't make any, you're a loser. And it could kind of go on and on with those comparisons. The only way to really win with money is to hold it loosely, okay, and be generous with it to accomplish things of value, okay? E. Stanley Jones said that money is a wonderful servant but a terrible master. If it gets on top of you and you get under it, you will become its slave. And I think that's a very wise observation there. Number 5, you want to develop the habit of giving, okay? More blesses he who gives more than he receives. Back in 1889, the multimillionaire, and again, he would have been a billionaire today, Andrew Carnegie, wrote an essay called The Gospel of Wealth. And in it, basically said the life of a wealthy person should have 2 periods, a time of acquiring wealth and then one of redistributing it. I think that's pretty good general advice, okay? So the only way to maintain an attitude of generosity is to make it your habit to give, whether it's your time, your attention, your money, or your resources, or all of the above, right? If you're enslaved by greed, I would add, you cannot lead, right? Leaders can't be greedy. We've seen enough of those out there. They're not really good leaders. They're actually bad leaders. So let's reflect on this with some questions. So here's some things to think about. Are you a generous leader? Do you continually look for ways to add value to others? That's the big one. That's how you're going to increase your influence, if you add value to others. And are you giving money or something greater than yourself? Or to something greater than yourself, sorry. And to whom are you giving your time? If you worry spending your time, will tell a lot about who you are and your generosity. Are you pouring your life into others? That's what leaders really should be doing. Again, this whole idea of adding value. You've got to pour yourself out and be involved in people's lives. And are you helping those who cannot help you or give anything in return? Right? Just you don't expect anything in return. And if you're not giving in small areas of your life, you're probably not as generous as you could be. Let's just face it. Okay, think about that one for a while. So to improve your generosity, here's a few things you can do. Give something away. He gives a suggestion. Find out what kind of hold your possessions have on you. You maybe take something you truly value that you think someone that you care about could benefit from, and give it to them. Okay, that's a big one. And he says if you could do it anonymously, even better. Okay. And then put your money to work. Really short, I could go on with this a bit, but put your money to work for something that will outlive you. Are you building a legacy that will outlive you, that beyond your years? I'll just leave it set at that, but not just in material things for material gain, but are you putting your money to work in something that will outlive you? And then lastly, find someone to mentor. This is a interesting topic. We could spend time on this on its own. I've talked about it a little bit, but once you reach a certain level in your leadership, the most valuable thing you have to give is yourself. People want your time because they know you know what you're talking about. Find someone, again, that you can pour your life into. Okay, and then give them time and resources to become a better leader. John Maxwell does a great job of that. But here, make sure that you take the time to ask some probing questions and set some expected parameters so you don't waste your time on someone who's not a good fit. I've had that happen with me. You start out with asking questions like, how can I help you? And why are you looking for mentoring? And what do you expect to get out of mentoring? And then what do you expect to give? Yes, it's a give-take relationship. So thanks so much for joining me today, guys. Please hit the subscribe button if this message impacted you or added value to you in any way. I certainly hope it did. You can also connect with me on social media at the links that I will provide. Join me next week, and we're going to hit characteristic number 10. I'm not going to tell you what that is. We'll do it next week, but go out, be a leader, influence others. Have an awesome week. Bye-bye.